Power Stone's awesome, right? For me, it's a top 10 Dreamcast game. It is also one of the many excellent franchises that Capcom for some reason just won't bring back. Unless they pop off with some kind of crazy announcement at EVO or something like that. We can keep hoping. But either way, I always want to talk about Power Stone. So let's take a look at the roster of lovable rogues we got here and see what kind of adventures they all get up to in the Power Stone world. Now if you've never played this game before, then you might be wondering what it is exactly. The short answer, it's an arena fighting game. It was originally made for Sega Naomi arcade machines and was pretty quickly ported to our beloved Dreamcast. Cool, colourful characters duke it out across a bunch of neat interactive stages with a variety of wacky items, including of course the titular Power Stones that let you go all Super Saiyan. It controls more like a 3D platformer or a beat 'em up than a traditional fighting game. You can run in every direction, there's a button to punch, jump, kick, guard, and you're constantly picking up items, weapons and other such doodads. There's a million reasons to love it. The arcade mode is a blast, multiplayer is absolute chaos, the soundtrack goes unnecessarily hard, and the announcer is perhaps the greatest hype man of all time. Seriously, whenever this dude hits me with "Oh no!" I feel it in my soul. But today we're talking about characters, and by way of that we'll inevitably get into the gameplay, the visuals and the lore as we go along. Let's start off with Edward Falcon, or Fokker as he's known in Japan. Wonder why they changed that. He's a British pilot, and he's our handsome pro tag for this game. Straight off the bat we see him flying around in his nifty little biplane, and it really sets that globe-trotting adventure type tone and gives us an idea of roughly when the game is supposed to take place, which is apparently the 19th century, a romantic era. Falcon also wears a very cool jacket, which is how you knew somebody was a hero in 90s fighting games. Story-wise, Falcon's family are tied to the legend of the Power Stones in some way or other, and so he's flying around the world trying to find one very specific stone, which his dad set out to find many years ago. The anime also follows this plot because yes, there was an official anime that ran for 2 seasons. I watched it all and it was very okay. Anyway, young Falk is your typical shonen hero, kinda lazy and silly, but also tough and honourable and good. When it comes to gameplay, Falcon is an all-rounder. A good starting character for new players, but probably not the pro choice if you're a hardcore esportser. He's got some pretty solid moves in his repertoire, with my personal favourite being this Izuna drop that he does if you can grab an opponent mid-air. Also, his Power Stone transformation turns him into basically Iron Man and lets him blast the opponent with a barrage of missiles. All tournament legal of course, I mean we also got bombs and miniguns knocking about here, so anything goes really. In the manual it tells us he specialises in boxing and destroys evil with sharp moves and explosive punches. Pfft, yeah, sounds right to me. Hey, while we're doing this, let's get really into the weeds and have a look at each character's stage. Londo, as you might guess from the name, is based on London, and so we have the Fish and Chips, the Royal Restaurant and the Fisker Restaurant. I love the old cobblestone courtyard deal here with the big fancy fountain, and look at that super blue Dreamcast water over there. Fun fact, all of my favourite Dreamcast games have very memorable water. Next up we got Ayami, a cute and cheerful ninja disguised as a travelling entertainer. Again we get more of that in the anime where she's getting up to various antics with her troupe, trying to steal Power Stones from Falcon and just basically being Team Rocket. As far as fighting goes, she's very fast and agile, which gives her an edge in a game like this where you're constantly zooming around trying to grab weapons and power-ups. I can tell you right now that she's one of my mains, and if we consult the manual, I think you'll see why, because it tells us Ayami's attacking power is frail and she is weak. Excuse me for a second. Fuck! She remains one of my go-to characters because although she is admittedly not the strongest fighter on the roster, that doesn't really matter when you're so fast that you can just scoot across the map to grab a 44 Magnum or whatever. And she transforms into a cherry blossom ninja who throws giant shurikens for a super move. What's not to love about that? Ayami's stage, Uedo, looks like it's decked out for a festival with all the silk sheets and lanterns lining the walls. Lots of traditionally Japanese stuff here with the tatami mats on the floor and the shoji with the wave painting on them. Very festive, very ceremonial, I like it quite a bit. Wang Tang is a very wholesome kung fu dude who just wants to go out into the world and impress his master. He seems maybe like a Jackie Chan homage looking at his stance and movement. His stage kinda fits with that too, flipping across tables and sliding chairs and climbing all around on the roof, all of which feels like stunts from a martial arts movie. And now that I've said that, it makes me want a Power Stone beat 'em up where you can run around big stages doing nifty moves, taking out jobbers and fighting big bosses, kinda like Jackie Chan Stuntmaster. Get at me, Capcom, I got ideas. I mean, I guess Power Stone 2 did have some platforming and beat 'em up elements, but that's a conversation for another time. I like Wang because he's chipper and upbeat, but also because he's another speedy customer like Ayami. According to the manual, Wang Tang is second to none in kung fu skill, and he floats like a butterfly and stings like a dragon. Did Wang Tang write this manual? Where was all this praise when you were dunking on my girl Ayami? Anyway, Wang's Power Stone transformation is pure Dragon Ball Z. They weren't even trying to disguise it, you got the spirit bomb and everything. His stage, Tong'an, is supposed to be a restaurant, I think, and as mentioned, it works well as an arena because of the ample opportunity for flips and trips. Being an arcade game, each stage needs to be bold and establish its identity straight away, which this one does nicely. We got some pretty archetypical looking Chinese decor, giving the place a refined and elegant feel. Also, there's all these big pots stacked up here, and if you slam your opponent into that, it's going to look dope as hell when it comes crashing down on them. All these stages have very fun interactive sections, I love it very much. Gunrock is a big tough miner with a heart of gold, maybe a pun in there somewhere. He is also a Saturday Night Slam Masters reference, very based Capcom. Glad to see you don't forget about your old franchises, right? This big boy right here is travelling the world trying to mine all the Power Stones, but seeing as how Power Stones do just seem to shoot out at people when you punch them, he's probably entered this tournament to save himself some time. And he packs a hell of a punch, this guy. He also has the best throwing strength in the game. See, there is a little bit of hidden depth going on here. If you're going to be chucking objects about all day, it may behoove you to think who is best at chucking them. He has some pretty punishing grabs too, but he's also painfully slow, so good luck getting near to anybody, or even the Power Stones. His stage, Dawn Volta, is supposed to resemble a mine, so we got all kinds of dangerous industrial equipment here, like this big steam vent or the conveyor belt grinder combo back there. Quite possibly the most lethal stage, but it does look awesome with the metal grating, stacked boxes, and the little window somewhere in the background letting in light from the outside world. Jack is this game's weirdo character. All fighting games have them, I suppose, but I just never tend to gravitate towards them. In terms of lore, he is just straight up a serial killer, which feels like an unnecessarily edgy backstory for such a bright and cheerful game, but hey, variety is the spice of life. His appearance is suitably creepy with the bloody bandages and whatnot. This vibe actually translates into his fighting style, making all his movements very erratic and unpredictable, which I guess is a plus if you're a Jack name. He scuttles about on his weird Silent Hill bullshit, doing whirling slashes and helicopter motions in the air. And his stage is called Manchester, which apparently is short for Manchester, and if that's the case, I can confirm that Manchester does not look like this. Although I do really like the spooky tone of the stage with the rows of ravens lining the gates and the abandoned Victorian shop fronts. Some real horror movie shit going on here for sure. Galuda is a kind and intelligent warrior who, according to the manual, is a pacifist who abhors violence. You are in the wrong game, my dude. They got bazookas and all kinds of shit out here. This fella seems to be the only character with a reasonable motive for wanting to get the Power Stone, as he's seeking to cure a mysterious disease that's afflicted his village. Very good and sensible. Not just Falcon wanting to get it because it looks cool or Gunrock wanting to pay off his bar tab. Interestingly, the manual also says that Galuda swore vengeance on a one-handed man who brought the sickness to his town. Just looking through the roster, I can only think of Kraken, who would really be one-handed, and the storyline doesn't seem to get picked up anywhere in the ending. But hey, lore! In terms of play, our man is a bit like a better Gunrock. He's big and strong, but he's not quite so lumbering in his movement speed. His stage is located in a place called Dullstown, and it's a Wild West themed bar called the Fighter's Saloon. And it has my favourite feature of any stage. All these little wanted posters up here for each character. Why are they all wanted? I get that Jack has probably done some sketchy shit in his time, but what is Gunrock wanted for? My man's just peacefully mining rocks all day. Rouge is a fortune teller who uses flowy, showy dancing techniques in her combat style. She's another extremely badass character that has no discernible reason for wanting the Power Stones. The manual just says that she's guided by her crystal to collect them. Whatever you say, Crystal, you're the boss. Rouge is also the de facto horny bait character in both the game and the anime, and thus we see her in a variety of not safe for work situations. She's another quick mover and I like her fighting style a lot. Even her normal attacks are very graceful and have a nice smooth flow to them. She also has a very sick earth throw, which I have to assume I've edited in here. Her stage, My Dad, has a mysterious vibe which I appreciate very much. It seems to be an underground temple full of shifting sand lined with pillars and palm trees, huge ornate sconces burning at the entrance and lots of decorative pots for the smashing. Certainly one of the prettiest stages, I think. Ryoma seems to be a pastiche of various famous samurai heroes. Even his character select portrait shows him doing the Yojimbo pose. What a baller. And he's one of those I am the strongest fighter travelling the world seeking a worthy opponent type dudes, but I can't help but love him. His outfit reminds me a lot of original Mitsurugi from Soul Blade before his Soul Calibur glow up, and he has undoubtedly the coolest Power Stone transformation where he becomes the Silver Beetle samurai hybrid. Being a samurai, Ryoma fights with a katana, throwing out lots of quick slashes, and like Falcon, he's a good all-rounder to start with. He's got good reach on the battlefield because he's got his sword, but if he misses he'll be vulnerable since he overcommits to the swing. Such deep tech in Power Stone, I tell you. Ryoma's stage, Mutsu, is very traditionally Japanese like Ayami's, but it's much more serene and reserved. Rather than colourful silk throws, the castle walls here are adorned with classical paintings and the courtyard is filled with gently falling snow. There's a small stone bridge across the frozen pond. It has a quiet sort of dignity to it that really fits with Ryoma's character. A stoic stage for a stoic man. Kraken is a boss character, and he doesn't really seem to have a lot of lore in the game or the manual. We can only really go off the fact that he's a pretty unhinged looking pirate who can turn into skeletal. I like his moveset just fine, but he's very slow. However, if you can get the jump on somebody and grab them, you'll be treated to this pretty outrageous throw technique where he grips them with his big claw and smacks them silly with his gun. His stage, Skullhaven, is a big spooky pirate ship with all the trimmings. We got the cannons firing, the big anchor swinging around like a pendulum, and the rigging that can be shimmied. And whilst it is a pretty neat stage, it is time to talk about Valgus. This dude right here really kicks ass. I'm not sure why such a generic design works for the big bad guy of this game, but he's just so goddamn menacing. He's got that Akuma type feeling of seeming really otherworldly and inhuman with his shark teeth and wild eyes. In the Japanese version of the game, he goes by the title Hell's Army Leader, which leads me to believe there's gotta be some spicy lore that we just didn't get over here in the West. When I played this game as a kid, I thought he was just a random strong dude in wrestling trunks. Although the throne room setting where we battle him definitely hints at something with a bit more gravity to it. His stage, Avalon Isle, is austere and dramatic, very fitting for a final boss. The shafts of light piercing down onto Valgus' throne, the mosaic tiles lining the floor, and the Power Stone resting in the jaws of a very evil looking statue, which is actually a lovely bit of foreshadowing, because this horrible statue, as I'm sure you know if you've played the game, represents Final Valgus. And when we beat normal Valgus, he gets a second form where he turns into this T-Virus looking son of a bitch because Capcom loves to make us fight giant mutants and give us a big spook. But I think that brings us to the end of our Power Stone journey for now. Hope springs eternal that someday Power Stone 1 and 2 both might find their way onto modern platforms with online capability because that would be unbelievably dope. And this is still a very beautiful looking game. There's something about 3D arcade games from the early 2000s, like that Sega Naomi look, it's just chef's kiss. Long story short is that I think that Power Stone is well overdue some kind of re-release or HD port. But that's going to do it for me today, friends. I do hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please do all the customary YouTube niceties to let me know. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.